Jeremy Lin received 0 D1 college scholarship offers, went undrafted, and had career averages of 11 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists, while starting less than half of the NBA games he played in. For most of his NBA career, he was a solid role player at best. However, for a 2-month stretch in 2012, he became something more than that. Jeremy Lin went from a deep bench option, a guy who was inches away from the D-League, to the most unstoppable force in the NBA. In doing so, he captured the heart and imagination of the most ravenous fan base in the league, who were desperate to see a star light up Madison Square Garden on a consistent basis. Lin went from sleeping on the couches of his friends and family and constantly being mistaken as a team trainer by security guards at MSG to landing on back-to-back Sports Illustrated covers and a spot on Time's list of the world's 100 most influential people. This is not your average zero to hero tale. This is a story about hard work, persistence, and breaking down barriers. This is the story of Linsanity. Lin was born in Torrance, California in 1988. His parents immigrated from Taiwan to the United States in the mid-1970s. They were both 5 foot 6 inches tall, not traditional NBA player genetics. During his senior year of high school, he captained Palo Alto High School to a 32-1 record and upset the nationally ranked Mater Dei 51-47 for the California state title. He was named First Team All-State and Northern California Division II Player of the Year and ended his senior year averaging 15.1 points, 7.1 assists, 6.2 rebounds, and 5 steals. The next Russell Westbrook ? Well, not according to college coaches. Lin sent his resume and a DVD of highlights of his high school basketball career to all of the Ivy League schools, the University of California, Berkeley, and his dream schools, Stanford and UCLA. The Pac-10, now Pac-12, schools wanted him to walk on rather than be actively recruited or offered an athletic scholarship. Harvard and Brown were the only teams that offered him a guaranteed spot on their teams, but Ivy League schools do not offer sports scholarships. Harvard assistant coach Bill Holden was initially unimpressed with Lin's on-court abilities and told Lin's high school basketball coach that Lin was a Division III player. Later, Holden saw Lin playing in a much more competitive game in which Lin balled out in, and he became Harvard's top recruit. Lin chose to attend Harvard. At Harvard, a Harvard coach remembered Lin in his freshman season as the physically weakest guy on the team, but in his sophomore season, Lin averaged 12.6 points and was named to the All-Ivy League second team. By his junior year, during the 2008-9 season, he was the only NCAA Division I basketball player ranked in the top 10 in his conference for scoring, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, field goal percentage, free throw percentage, and three-point percentage, and was a consensus selection for the All-Ivy League first team. He had 27 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists in an 82-70 win over the 17th ranked Boston College, 3 days after the Eagles defeated number 1 North Carolina. In his senior year, Lin averaged 16.4 points, 4.4 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 2.4 steals, and 1.1 blocks, and was again a unanimous selection to the All-Ivy League first team. He was one of the 30 mid-season candidates for the John R. Wooden Award and one of the 11 finalists for the Bob Cousy Award. Lin gained national attention for his performance against the 12th-ranked Connecticut Huskies when he scored a career-high 30 points and grabbed 9 rebounds on the road. Just by achieving success on the more modest Ivy League circuit, Lin was already in rarefied territory as an Asian American athlete, and people across the country and around the world had started to take notice. Even back then, he was a big deal in China and Taiwan, recalled ESPN's Pablo Torre. There were people from China, reporters coming to watch his games in college, and it was this sort of curiosity, but it was real. Despite all of this, Lin went undrafted in the 2010 NBA draft. Scouts saw what the New York Times later described as a smart passer with a flawed jump shot and a thin frame, who might not have the strength and athleticism to defend, create his own shot, or finish at the rim in the NBA. Lin joined the Dallas Mavericks for minicamp as well as the NBA Summer League team in Las Vegas. Don Nelson of the Mavericks was the only general manager who offered him an invitation to play in the Summer League. "Donnie took care of me," said Lin. "He has a different type basketball vision than most people do. Lin flipped a strong summer league performance with the Mavericks into a 2-year deal with his hometown Warriors. Lin's deal was partially guaranteed for the 2010-11 NBA season, and the Warriors held a team option for the second season. The San Francisco Bay Area, with its large Asian American population, celebrated his arrival. He became the first American of Chinese or Taiwanese descent to play in the NBA. He received little playing time during the season because of two dominant ball handlers, Stephen Curry and Monta Ellis, who starred for Warriors. He would bounce back and forth between the D-League and the NBA, and was eventually cut twice before he ended up with the Knicks in late 2011. The off-season before, Lin worked to improve his jump shot by abandoning the shooting form he had used since the 8th grade. He also increased his strength, doubling the weight he could squat, and almost tripling the number of pull-ups that he could do. He increased his body weight from 200 pounds to 212, including 15 pounds of muscle, added 3 inches to his standing vertical jump and 6 inches to his running vertical jump, and improved his lateral quickness by 32%. On February 4th, 2012, the struggling Knicks were gearing up for their third game in 3 nights. The deadline for contracts to become guaranteed for the remainder of the season was less than a week away, and as the New Jersey Nets visited Madison Square Garden, Lin's NBA dreams hung in the balance. So much stuff had to come together at the right moment. My back was against the wall, said Lin in an interview with The Ringer. That was going to be it for me. My agent had actually called me before the game and said, if you don't play well, tonight will probably be your last game in the NBA. The amount of anxiety, the pressure, just the embarrassment that I was facing. If I would finally make it to the NBA and then just completely underperform and fizzle out, that would have been a really tough pill to swallow. Lin came off the bench to score 25 points and dish out 7 assists in a much needed win for the Knicks, who had just lost 11 of their past 13 games. After the game, Mike D'Antoni said Lin had a point guard mentality and a rhyme and reason for what he was doing out there. Then, Lin dropped 28 points with 8 assists in another win against the Utah Jazz 2 nights later. A couple of nights after that, Lin was crossing out 2010 number 1 overall pick John Wall and dunking on the Washington Wizards in the team's 3rd straight win. Next came a duel against Kobe Bryant in the Los Angeles Lakers at the Garden, where Lin scored 38 points, including a dagger 3 in front of the Lakers bench.
The rebound. Lin for 3. Bang!
Players playing that well don't usually come out of nowhere. It seems like they come out of nowhere, but if you go back and take a look, his skill level was probably there from the beginning. It probably just went unnoticed, said Kobe Bryant after Lin scored 38 points. Upon Lin's promotion to the starting lineup, the Knicks went on a 7-game winning streak. Against the Toronto Raptors, he waved away incoming screens with the score tied and the clock waning, and delivered a game-winning triple just before the buzzer. In Lin's first 5 career starts, the hero from Harvard scored 136 points, the most since the NBA-ABA merger, and went on to lead New York to 10 wins in 13 games, helping turn around what was beginning to look like another lost season in the Mecca of basketball. In the following game against the Sacramento Kings, Lin recorded 13 assists and led the Knicks back to a 500 record with a 100-85 win. The team's 7-game winning streak ended in an 89-85 loss to the New Orleans Hornets. Lin scored 26 points but had 9 turnovers. His 45 turnovers in his first 7 career starts were the most since individual turnovers began being tracked in 1977-78. On February 19, in a 104-97 win against the Mavericks, Lin scored 28 points and tallied career highs with 14 assists and 5 steals. USA Today wrote, no matter what Dallas threw at Lin, double teams, traps, blitzes, tall defenders, small defenders, Lin found a way to a victory against the defending NBA champions. He did not do as well against the Miami Heat, shooting 1 for 11 from the field and committing 8 turnovers. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and the rest of the eventual NBA champions focused their entire defense on Lin, an experience he described as flattering and terrifying. I felt like they were all like hawks, circling me and staring. The craze surrounding Lin's sudden ascendancy became known as Linsanity. In his 12 starts before the All-Star break, Lin averaged 22.5 points and 8.7 assists per game, and New York had a 9-3 record. He played in the Rising Stars Challenge during the NBA All-Star Weekend. He was omitted from the original Rising Stars roster but was added after his sudden ascent to stardom. Some media outlets, including USA Today, Los Angeles Times, and CBSSport.com, stated that he deserved to play in the All-Star game. In March, the Knicks replaced D'Antoni with coach Mike Woodson, who ran fewer pick-and-rolls and more isolation plays. Lin had excelled at running pick-and-rolls under D'Antoni. After a March 24 game against the Detroit Pistons, Lin complained about a sore knee, and an MRI later revealed a small meniscus tear in the left knee. Lin opted to have knee surgery and missed the remainder of the regular season. He averaged 18.5 points and 7.6 assists during his 26 games as a regular player, and during that period, the team went 16-10. Lin became a restricted free agent at the end of the season. The New York Times called Lin the Knicks' most popular player in a decade, and asserted that he had saved the team's season. However, his success over only 26 games left teams uncertain about his overall standing among the league's point guards. Some still believed in Lin. Some still believed Lin was a bench player. Lin left for Houston with a new 4-year, $28 million contract. Despite being 23 after his sole season with the Knicks, Lin still had some flaws. Too many turnovers, a weak left hand, an inconsistent jumper, to name a few. It makes sense why the Rockets were so keen to acquire him though. Then Rockets GM Daryl Morey explained to author Michael Lewis in his book The Undoing Project in 2016, Lin lit up the team's evaluated model ahead of the 2010 draft, assigning his value at the 15th pick, which would have placed him just outside the lottery. Morey and co weren't prepared to place blind trust in their model, as Lin just didn't pass the eye test. A year after Houston and every other team let Lin go undrafted, the Rockets began measuring the speed of a player's first two steps, and Lin had the quickest first step of any player measured. He's incredibly athletic, Morey told Lewis, but the reality is that every person, including me, thought he was unathletic. Lin struggled at the beginning of the season and began losing playing time to back up Tony Douglas. He would then bounce around the league the next few years, but would have some highlights. His season high 29 in a win over Philly for the Lakers, and he is 35 for the Hornets in a win over the Raptors with just 2. Still, he could never shake the expectations that unfathomable run in February placed on him. Imagine, everybody wanted me to be like the superhero character, but I'm 100% human, Lin says. I can't live up to that. It's always like these huge shoes that I can never fill, or like this ghost or shadow casting over anything I do, and it's never good enough. It's just like the walls of expectation that other people put on me. That's why I wanted to run from it. Now Lin plays in China, and despite a somewhat awkward breakup, he's still beloved in New York. His legend will live on long after he stops playing. His story shows us what's possible when an unlikely character is given a chance. He is a role model for all of us. He is Jeremy Lin.